Most of us know the feeling well. It's 2 in the morning, the house is completely quiet, and you're sitting in the dark, mindlessly scrolling through TV channels. Psychologists have a term for the comfort you feel in that moment: safe voyeurism. The screen acts as a one-way mirror where you observe the world completely undetected. You hold the remote, and you hold all the power. In 2023, a college student in California stumbled onto a channel that broke that rule. The screen displayed no channel number and no network logo. It was simply a live broadcast. The feed showed a stark, brightly lit white room. Inside, several people sat in chairs. They weren't talking or moving. They were completely silent, staring blankly forward into the camera. The creeping dread here stems entirely from the absence of normal media markers. Without a graphic or a commercial break to tell your brain this is a show, your subconscious feeling of control starts to slip. Then, the absolute stillness in the room cracked. One of the figures on screen blinked. The movement was agonizingly slow, deliberate. The man slowly turned his head away from the front, looking directly into the lens. His lips started moving, whispering something into dead air. Architects of media call this the fourth wall. Normally, information flows strictly one way, from the studio to your living room. When a subject suddenly acknowledges the camera, that solid boundary collapses, and the distance keeping a viewer safe simply disappears. Deprived of sound, the student instinctively leaned forward, squinting at the screen to try and read the man's lips. The silence actively pulled him closer, forcing him to physically engage with the trap. The panic sets in when the observer realizes the glass goes both ways. The comforting illusion of safe voyeurism dissolves, leaving the viewer completely exposed to the subjects on the other side. Faced with the inexplicable, the student did what anyone raised in the smartphone era would do. He grabbed his phone and started recording. Documenting an anomaly is our modern reflex to regain control. The moment he pointed his camera at the television, the feed violently glitched. The screen fragmented into harsh static for a split second before snapping into a razor-sharp clinical image. The white room vanished, replaced by a massive control center. Operators lined up in front of rows of monitors, tracking dozens of different feeds. On every single screen, different people sat in different white rooms, perfectly still. The control room reveals a sprawling system of panoptic surveillance. A central hub observes isolated perimeter rooms. Subjects never know when they are watched, creating absolute, unseen control. The glitch revealed an operation where the feed reverses direction, tracking back to the viewer. That control room exposes the true nature of the threat. We are looking at a deliberate, highly organized physical infrastructure built specifically to monitor human stillness. Just as quickly as the control room appeared, the feed snapped back to the original white room. The man staring into the camera was now stretching his face into a wide, unnatural smile. The dead air finally broke. The audio kicked in with a single, crystal-clear whisper. "He can see us." The camera immediately began an aggressive mechanical zoom. It pushed closer and closer until the man's smiling face completely filled the television screen. Instead of staring straight ahead into the broadcast lens, his eyes were shifting, tracking. He was looking directly at the student's exact physical position in the dark bedroom. The choice of words is telling. He can see us. This wasn't a signal broadcast into the void hoping for an audience. They were sitting in wait for a witness, and the moment he looked, the trap snapped shut. Without warning, the television powered down. The screen went black, plunging the room into total silence, leaving the student sitting entirely alone with his heart hammering in his chest. Desperate to convince himself it was a bizarre signal hijack, he looked down at his phone and opened the video file he had just recorded. He needed to review the footage to ground himself in reality. The video on his phone omitted the television broadcast entirely. It showed him. The angle was captured from an impossible height, tucked up in the dark corner of his own bedroom, recording his back as he sat frozen. Then came the temporal distortion. Even though the student had stopped recording and stood up, the video on his screen continued to play. It showed his past self still sitting there, locked in place. His phone's camera acted as a mirror, feeding a separate perspective. His safe, isolated bedroom was never secure. It was already fully integrated into the control room's surveillance grid. As he watched his screen, the digital version of himself slowly turned its head. The doppelganger looked straight up into the camera lens, smiled, and whispered, "Now we can see you too." We surround ourselves with devices constantly looking back at us. Between smart televisions, front-facing phone cameras, and invisible data trackers, we voluntarily live inside a network of dormant lenses. This story digs under our skin because it perfectly maps onto a very real, very quiet anxiety we all carry. We suspect our technology possesses hidden two-way capabilities that we fail to control. The true fear of the digital age lies in the persistent, undeniable dread that, right now, you are the one being broadcast.